Celeb Savant is a career retrospective type interview focusing on singers, actors, and industry experts. Join Barrett Edelstein now as he dives into the entertainment world.
Jethro Sheeran, known professionally as Alonestar, is a British musician, record producer and rapper. He is recognized for his genre-blending work, merging elements of hip-hop, urban, reggae and electronic music. Jethro has collaborated with, amongst others, Chris Brown, Eminem, Lil Wayne, Macy Gray, Ed Sheeran, Akon, DaBaby, Snoop Dogg, Rick Ross and many others. With over 100 million streams on Spotify alone, Jethro is a force to be reckoned with in the music industry. Jethro has become a good friend to the Celeb Savant platform, this being his third interview for the podcast. Up next on Celeb Savant, catching up since we last spoke on the podcast, is Jethro Alonestar Sheeran. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. It's good to be back on the show. Yeah, I was sick, so we had a few cancellations. But yeah, it's absolute pleasure to be back on and lots to talk about. How are you?
I'm all good, all good. You were sick. I saw that you're in and out of hospital, but you're all better and you're healthy and strong now.
Yeah, everything's good, healthy and strong now. Just a little lifestyle change, really. I was just doing too much and I had some mental health issues that reoccurred, but now I'm just taking things a bit slower, and I was just so stressed out and pressured into so much different parts of the business that I spread myself too thin, and I got pneumonia as well. But now everything is in order, and back to the grind, really, focusing on my new record label, Urban Angel Records. It's not new, but rebranding it and everything. Yeah, that's what I've been up to. I've got a new album coming out and everything, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Everything's really good, healthy. Just moved back from Denmark to England, back to Bristol, where it's my hometown. So I'm looking for just a new home to purchase a new home, set up my studio. And that's pretty much me, yeah.
You said earlier that you were doing too much, and now you've slowed down a bit or refocused and re-energized. Because you were doing a lot for a long period of time, now that you're doing a little bit less, does your brain sometimes think, okay, I'm not doing enough?
No, because I was doing way too much. I've got a assessment for ADHD as well. So that's coming up. So I think I had rushing thoughts for so many I was doing too much, basically, and I wasn't delivering, and I was letting people down a bit. So, for instance, I would book in 3 studio sessions in one day around the same time and not turn up to 2, plus, maybe have an interview with you that overlapped and what have you. So I thought I could do everything, but I really couldn't. I didn't have the time. I was really focusing on other artists at the time as well, trying to get them on my label, and it's a full-time job just for me alone. So I just realized, right, I'm going to focus on the label for myself as an artist. And then later on, when I bring more people in, once it starts to grow, then I'll have label managers and things like that for the artists that we sign, if we do. But yeah, I have so much aspirations, and I was trying to do everything and then ended up failing because I was doing too much. Whereas now I'm kind of chilling out a bit. I'm focusing on myself as an artist, the new album, because I'm writing it all myself, producing it all, obviously with my featured artist, working the label, doing artwork. I'm very creatively involved in the whole projects that are coming up. Yeah, I was in Denmark. I was moving back home. There was Brexit. There was so many different things that I was trying to do, and shooting videos and doing AI stuff and, promotion, PR. I've just released the song, the last single, and I was doing like 3 radio stations a day. Not to complain about it, but it was just a bit too much for me. That's where I was at. So now I'm just kind of focusing on what's really, really important. And, of course, everyday life's important and being healthy and stuff. So that's what had to come first.
And are you still working on that movie, the Van Gogh movie?
That has been on hold, so there's nothing I can do about it. It's just the production. So I'm still waiting for them to kind of get back to me exactly when it is going to production. I think there were some financial problems with it. I'm still working on the music and stuff like that, but even if it doesn't happen, the music I'm really happy with. So I'm going to keep it for another project because I'm doing a film myself, which is another thing that I was doing, is writing this short film. It's about an hour long called 13 km, 13 kilometers, which is probably a whole nother interview. So I want to focus on that and make that movie at some point, maybe in a couple of years.
Well, maybe it was better that the production was a little bit on hold, because then that allowed you to have one less thing to rush your mind with.
Absolutely. And then I was doing the soundtrack and, but I got to meet Macy Gray through yourself, and she was coming on the project. So me and her have been in touch a lot since that. So there's always positives and negatives. And since that meeting the production team of the Van Gogh movie, things have expanded, and it's great. If it goes ahead, brilliant. If not, I've gained so much from it, and it's a good experience. And I've got loads of music that I produced kind of for the film, but it's my style, and it is very cinematic, very anthemic, and very film scory, so it could fit for many things with a little change of heart here and there. But yeah, it's great to see Macy Gray. I met her in all thanks to you, actually. I met her in Birmingham in England. I will eventually go and see her in LA. Yeah, for now I'm staying in Bristol. Get to go to New York and LA. That's my next stop.
Tell us all about the album.
Okay, so the album is untitled at the moment. I've got a few ideas written down, but I'm just focusing on each song title. It's going to be 10 tracks or 13 tracks. I haven't made up my mind. I've got about 90 songs that I've been working on for this album. This is going back to my kind of roots, really, the real, Alonestar, not as many big name features. It's kind of features, but, people that I will see and work with every day, like Kayla Kelly, who's living in Bristol, and Kojo Regault, who you've interviewed, I think. It's kind of very film score sound as well. It's kind of hip hop meets the cinema, really. So it's kind of, a lot of live instruments are being played on it. It's kind of much more global world themes, the sort of the music and the lyrics. A lot of my stuff I write when I'm quite down. It's not dark, but it's kind of like low, kind of melancholic. At the moment, I'm really focusing on a much broader kind of subject matter and world themes and what's going on in the world today, so people can relate to it, not because I need people to relate, but it's just how I'm feeling at the moment. And I think a lot of people will relate to it because of that. It goes into kind of spirituality and my belief systems and energy and the divine, as it were. Quite spiritual. It's not religious, but it's a lot of Christian-based themes in it, and just a bit of a kind of a loose a loose kind of documentary of my life and how I have my perspective of the world. So I was going to call it Isoface Light, which was my very first EP. So this was going to be Isoface Light, the album, because the songs, say there's 10 tracks, 5 of them are quite, real life and quite not dark, but lower energy and a bit darker. Like Mother Earth, for instance, is about the world we live in, and Mother Earth is crying at the shore, weeping. As the shore be her tears, for instance. And I've got some sing on that. So an Isoface Light is an exact equal amount of light and dark. So it's like a lighthouse flashes. So it's exactly that's an Isoface Light. So it's dark light, dark light. So I was thinking something on those themes, but it's not it's not just light and dark. It's kind of some of the songs are much more sort of hip-hop-y based than, different genres. I'm bending genres and doing lots of collaborations in music, like the actual musical side of things. Like I've got live string players, saxophone, brass, keyboards, pianos, and things like that. So, and genre bending within those instruments. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm really loving making this album. I'm really having a good time. The great, what's his name? A huge music producer just told me about the audience should come last, and that's not being selfish. It's because if you are making music for an audience, then you're not making it the best possible it could be, because you have to do it yourself. And if you do the best possible work yourself, then it's going to come for the audience. That's going to be the best you could do. So yeah, he was teaching me not to kind of think too much of Rick Rubin. Sorry. when I say teach me, it's not he personally teaching me, but just reading his book and listening to some interviews. So yeah, I'm really trying to focus on this album by making it very not so personal, but also, yeah, there's a bit of a paradox there because it's kind of like personal in terms of like I'm doing this music how I want to do it, and I love sounds rather than making a pop song that's 3 minutes with big choruses for the listener. So, but also it's more global themes. So yeah, it's a bit difficult to explain. But
No, it makes sense, because the thing is that when an artist is making music for the listener, it's like they're trying to please.
Yes, exactly. And he was also explaining, like, when you go to these big budget films, they're trying to please the audience and they turn out rubbish, you know. But if you have a film that's kind of like The Godfather or something, that there's no pleasing the audience, and he's just going to make this film that he wants to make and direct it with angles and shots that he wants to do. And then that's what becomes super amazing, that everyone goes, oh my God, his vision was so cool. And you become a fan of that. So yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit mindful of that. So I'm not kind of thinking about, is this going to be good on radio? What country is going to do that? Shall I get a Mexican artist on this song to hit the Latin market? Or, you know, all of that kind of business decisions that you might make, because I want this to be standout, massive album, you know, for me. I want it to be a piece of art that I can always look back on and be proud of, which is the most important thing to me now. It's not about selling and getting streams and stuff. I mean, that's all great, but I think that should come secondary to the art, because, yeah, like Rick Rubin said, it's just commerce if you're not making it from the heart and being a piece of art. So I'm going back to, you know, obviously I've done lots of songs and remixes and stuff with different genres like dance that I'm not massively into, just because it's hitting a different audience and trying to build a fan base and things like that in different genres. And, you know, for radio late at night, it'll be played and things like that. So I understand that whole, you know, as the business side, but yeah, coming from my heart and making it a piece of art, I'm really focusing on making this as real as possible and truthful.
For the audience who may not know, or the listener who does not know, what does genre bending mean?
Okay, genre bending is, say you take a genre like rock and then you put a little bit of, say, Latin music in it. So it'll be a rock guitar, maybe a rock tempo, but you might have a Latin Spanish guitar influence. So you're bending two genres together. So pop, rock, glam rock, you know, they're genre bending and things like that. So, or hip hop with, you know, trap, you know, you can do a song that's kind of classical music and hip hop. So blending the two genres, or blending, whatever, is, yeah, mixing two genres basically. And that's what I've been doing, but in the musical side of things. So you might have a piece of jazz piano on a hip hop song as a sample, and then you know, so it's kind of a jazzy feel. So that's genre bending in terms of, yeah, what I'm doing. Yeah, it's all very, I mean, it's very film scory, very anthemic and very cinematic, I'd say. So I'm excited, and, you know, lots of timpani drums and like orchestral sound. So that's why it's exciting for me. And I'd love to perform the whole album back to back with an orchestra one day. That would be my dream, and play it live with every musician. And I've seen this French hip hop group called I Am, who did this with a live orchestra at the pyramids at sunset in Egypt. It was incredible. I don't really understand what they're saying because it's all in French, but a lot of it I do because I studied French at school. But I would love to do an orchestra at sunset with a band for this album somewhere amazing. I'm not sure where, but maybe not the pyramids, but somewhere just as cool. So that's my dream, and that's what you know, I'm kind of focusing towards, is this big outdoor gig somewhere amazing that people can get to, make it something very magical. So with a live orchestra, because that's something I've always wanted to do. So that's my plan. Even though I have to make it happen myself, I will make it happen.
Yes, well, let's put it out there. Let's put all that in out there. Absolutely.
Manifest it.
Exactly. Now, you referenced earlier, and I've heard a lot of artists speak about this when creating a body of work of an album. You referenced 90 songs and cutting it down to either 10 or 13. In your personal experience, in that process of looking, creating, and seeing and cutting down, how do you decide, okay, this one or this one, and those songs that are not included, you bank them for other times? Let's unpack that whole process of creating an album.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good question and very valid point. So usually it's very difficult for me to choose. Say I haven't, I've got 90 songs, which ones I want to really shape up, mix and master to be on the album. It's a very, very difficult process. How I do that usually is just where my heart feels. If it gives me goosebumps, then that's a good sign. And I also send it out to about 10 people. And that's not necessarily music people. It's, like my mother, and then a friend that listens to a lot of music, a mentor that's, a big record exec. So it's a blend of people, and, I get to feel what everyone else is kind of feeling, which goes against what I said of just, going with the heart. But they are my heart, they're very close to me, and they're all great in my eyes, and not one deserves the place more than the other. It's just what stands out on the album and works together as an album, because I'm going in this W shape. I start quite energetic and big, then I come down, which is kind of bringing the tone down like a movie into something a bit more passive and kind of really global themes. I keep saying that, but it's the only way I can describe it. Things like Mother Earth. I've got I'm going to change the world. These are working titles. There's one, Psalm 13, sacrifice, which is when Jesus died on the cross, his blood was shed to wash away sins of the world, all of things like that. And then it comes back into kind of more energetic, there's a level of hip hop that goes really dark in on the way back up, and like more 90s boom bap hip hop, and then it goes back into kind of my up tempo feel good songs with children's choirs. There's one saying, I want to make friends with God. It's got a children's choir on it that is just brilliant, and it's so hooky. So that's definitely going on. So maybe 5 of them straight away, I said that is a single and it's going on the album. So 5 of them are already just outshine the others slightly. But the others I'm really proud of. I spent a lot of time on them, and I will release them because I'm not the type of person that puts out an album and chucks the rest away. I think that they should be heard, and their songs in their own right, and they have a life, shelf life that people can listen to. So because I release often as well, I'm building my catalogue, I'm definitely going to be releasing most of those songs as singles, because I try and do a song a week, minimum every 2 weeks pretty much. And I was doing that before, but I was doing it on 5 different imprints. So I had my Jethro Sheeran account, I had Alonestar, I had my record label Urban Angel. I was doing a kind of lo-fi called Dragonfly Records. So I was doing a lo-fi production with samples and vocals and things. So I was just doing too much, and I had so much creative kind of creativity in me that I just want to release it and get it all out. But now I'm just pacing myself. Well, I'm just full of ideas and full of energy and full of music basically. So I've got a lot to write. I just want to do some traveling a little bit to get some life lessons. I feel like I'm a bit stagnant after being ill and having pneumonia and just stuck in one place. I haven't really lived out the box for a while. So I need to do some traveling, see some shows, see some gigs, and kind of like feel some emotions and have something to continue writing about. But I'm there. I'm pretty much there. It'd be great to have one more song that come out of the sky and was downloaded from the heavens for me for this album, because I feel it does need one more bang, big, huge song that's just magically come from nowhere. Yeah, I'm excited for that too. So release date wise, I'm thinking spring, early spring, end of March, April, kind of that time. I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to get back on stage, and very excited to have this album in an orchestral form, because if we do that live, I would record the whole thing with cameras, video, and also audio, and then put it out as a kind of, maybe sell it or give it away as a USB stick as the album.
So first of all, not if, when we do it live, let's just put that out there.
That'd be great to come to that show and document it all, because you've been there from the beginning too, pretty much, of the success. Maybe not the very beginnings, we didn't know each other, but me living in Denmark and having some great success recently. So you've kind of covered and documented that, which is brilliant. So it'd be a shame that you couldn't document this whole thing. So I'd love you to come on board.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. So now this is a point of discussion and debate. As you know, we dive into the authentic discussions. I disagree with you. I think that the experience that you've had in learning to focus and not be rushing and the pneumonia is life, and you can tap into that for writing. And I'm not saying you are. I don't think you should think that even though it was indoors and it wasn't like traveling, that it wasn't life experiences. Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, that is very true. And that's a brilliant perspective and a great, yeah, to notice that is pretty amazing. Because it just made, when you were saying it, I was thinking, shit, yeah, there is. I mean, the thing is, I did write in those times. I was very dark, in a bad place mentally and physically. And I've looked back and the songs, there is two songs at that time period. One's called Vuta, which was I used to call my mum that when I was a kid, Vuta, which could be an album title. I'm thinking about that. Yeah, reading back to it, it's like goes back to how I was feeling at the time. It gives me chills and makes me feel pretty scared. You're right. I think now that I'm healed, pretty much, I've been diagnosed with PTSD and potentially ADHD and also chronic anxiety and chronic panic disorder, by psychiatrists, and slightly medicated from trauma that happened to me when I was younger, when my daughter was abducted or kidnapped, however way you want to see it. And it's kind of, there was correlation between me leaving her and having these panic attacks and stuff. So it's kind of realizing where all of this was coming from. But you're right. No, I've only just thought of this literally right now, is the healing process maybe I could write about, because that is it's probably the biggest learning curve I've ever had in my life. And especially if I am diagnosed with ADHD and having these rushing thoughts, I get brain fog and I think too much, and I rush a lot of things and finish people's sentences. I just have a very quick brain, but that also can get very tired after using it so much for so many different things. And I'm just making arrangements that I can't keep. So I need to slow down a bit. I think the healing process is something brilliant to write about, because I think a lot of people go through this, life changes and things like that. So yeah, maybe I should call it changes. I'm just thinking of it now. Like the autumn, I can picture an autumn, like the seasons change.
Yes. And each song, as you referenced, is darker or lighter. So, and as each one changes, the lessons that come through from that and adjusts into the next phase.
Yeah. Because the essence of life is change. So
exactly.
I think change can be good. It's like, a bug goes into a butterfly, that's the most beautiful changes, things like that. So you can change for the better. And I think I'm understanding myself a lot more. So I should really focus and write about that process, actually, because I didn't think of that, actually. I thought, okay, I was writing about how I felt at the time that was so dominant in my life, bad. But now I could write about the positives of going through that, because I was questioning God, I was questioning the world and myself, my sanity, like why, what lesson? I always believe there's a lesson to learn in a breakup, or if something happens, the sliding door thing. So a record label would tell me no for this single, and then I get a much better deal, 2 weeks later, which I wouldn't have got if so I always think there's things happen for a reason a lot of the time. And what's the lesson in this? It was so brutal, and so it's pure horror, how I was feeling like constant panic and anxiety for days and days. I didn't eat, sleep, anything. It was horrible. I felt so confused, and I just had this psychosis that was taking. So I was like, what's the lesson of that? But I think it's just, if I continued doing that to myself, I would, have a breakdown or something. So it was like a mini kind of check. So if I didn't do that, it would just, now I'm getting diagnosed with all this kind of stuff. And it explains myself as an artist a lot as well. So, because I can really hyper focus, which is the, hyperactive. It's not necessarily my body's hyperactive, but I'm hyper focusing on music. And that's one thing that I can see and work out very quickly, easily. Like, it's not a puzzle to me. I just go boom, 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 boom. I'm a good finisher, whereas loads of people procrastinate on their album and music. But I can just go right, bang, 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 and put out lots of music. I like, the final mix is the final mix. And I don't go back in and go, oh, maybe if there was a little guitar part there, or, I'm quite good at finishing and stuff. But then in everyday life, simple things, when I'm thinking about 10 things that I'm doing, I end up doing none of them, because my brain just goes into a bit of a brain foggy type thing. So I'm learning, and it has changed my life. So I think Changes would be a great song to write, which I'm going to do. I'm going to do it, whether it goes on the album or not. I think that's a brilliant idea. Thanks for that.
There's another thing that I would like you to look up, and for the audience as well, some homework. It's called the Enneagram, Enneagram, Enneagram. And each person has an extension type, personality type. And I very much pick up that the extension type you are is the very same as me. I might be wrong. So extension type 7s, I'm not going to go through all of it now because it's quite long and intense. I'll give the audience homework to do. So
Yes.
basically, the extension type 7 that I perceive you may fall on, which I fall on, which resonates, is they have a fear of fear. So what comes with that is a fear of boredom. So they're always planning for the future, positive, exciting things to keep them busy, so they don't have to stop, feel the boredom, and then feel the fear. So what happens is all the things that you mentioned about the brain, about the fog, getting too much done and then having nothing done, and then hyper-focused in other areas, is very much characteristics of type 7s. The interesting thing about type 7s is that our brains can think of like 500 things at once, and it is the same symptoms or characteristics of ADHD. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm ADHD because this is how my brain works, which may also be the case. I'm not dishonoring
But it might not, yeah.
that
interesting.
label. But a lot of people perceive extension type 7s as ADHD because it's the characteristics are similar. I still go for the assessment, but just understand that it also might be a type 7 on the Enneagram.
Brilliant. Love that. Can you send it to me as soon as we finish so I can check it out, and I'll let you know if I am type 7.
So just a note to you and to the listener, when you do the test, because we've got wings and we go to different areas on it, you'll see when you see the picture in that, if you are in one of your other types, was as an extension type 7, you have an 8 wing or a 6 wing or a 1 or a 3. If you are in one of those areas in your life when you're doing the test, you may come up as one of those other types. So just to keep that in mind. But I will send you all the details, and it'll be interesting to see your observations and understandings when you go through it.
Cool. I'll let you know straight away. Do you find out straight away which one you are?
I did a coaching course where we studied this quite in depth. We sat in each type. There's 9 types. We sat in each type for like a day or two, discussing it and analyzing it. So I picked up, I'm an extension type 7. I don't like blocking people into that because we're more than that. But it's just interesting understanding these things, because now when you were talking now, I understand what the drive is of what you're talking. I get where the drive is happening from.
It relates. Yeah. Mad. That's so cool. I'm going to check it out, man, because I don't necessarily think I'm hyperactive with ADHD, attention deficit. I mean, I think everyone is slightly, has a bit of autism, or, everyone's on a spectrum somewhere, because you need ego and narcissism for survival. Otherwise we wouldn't care about ourselves. But it's just the amount and also whether you're a kind of hunter or farmer. I'm reading this book at the moment about ADHD, and it kind of goes for, there's a farmer who thinks about his crop the next year, very patient and waits for the seasons and goes through this whole process, whereas a hunter is very alert and has to think on his feet super quick. And I think in Homo sapiens, in the old hunting days, you were either someone that kind of, well, maybe later than that, but you were either or, and that's what this book suggests. And it's a bestseller, and it's written by a psychologist or psychiatrist of some kind. But I'm really getting into this book, so we're definitely hunters if we're like this, I think.
So what's interesting with extension type 7s is when we are in our healthy energy, you're going to have unhealthy average and healthy ranges within each type, and you can move all over it. But when extension type 7s are healthy, we are focused. When extension type 7s are unhealthy, they're scattered in all over the place. So like, I need to do this, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this. And then that's
that is me.
Yes.
That is me to a T. I see it as a superpower, because when I hyper-focus, I get things done. I think it's more like, someone told me about their neurosurgeon, how do you say it these days? Their condition, and she's a mother, and she found out when she was 50, so very late in life. But
neurodivergent.
Neurodivergent, that's the one, But her son has extreme ADHD, and he just doesn't do his homework. He's not, he's very, very intelligent, but he's at school, and he likes 2 of the subjects he loves, maybe biology and sports or something. He excels in those because he wants to do them. He talks in class, he can't focus, he's just got no energy to be doing history, for instance. But when he gets home, but his mum says, well, he's won multiple awards for his gaming, things like that. So she said, at dinner time, she can bang 2 pots together over his head, and he's just still locked in. Kind of like what you're interested in, you hyper focus on. Because I'm terrible with things like bills. If I get a phone bill or a parking fine, push them to the side because I'm not in it. They give me anxiety. So I just go, oh, forget that. And my brain just tells me focus on that. So it just goes that way. So, and it gets me into trouble sometimes because, it's not forgetfulness at all. But when it comes to like, you owe £250 instead of £50 and it's gone up that much, then you get my attention. Or if there's a policeman at the door and I focus on that all by itself and forget anything else that I hyperfocus on. It has to be urgent, or that's why I'm late a lot, because it never seems important until sugar. You've got 10 minutes to get there, and I like that the dopamine that's just injected into your brain. Because I think it's a lack of dopamine. A lot of this ADHD thing is, that's why they give amphetamine to someone that's hyperactive, because it's the dopamine that you get which calms you down, and then you get more focus. So I'm interested in finding out about it. But apparently it's changed people's lives that are neurodivergent, that they've been diagnosed and maybe helped with medication or whatever it is, or just ways to cope. People have really said it's made my life completely different for the better always. I'm excited to kind of get this, go down this journey and see how it affects me, and if being medicated would help, or whether it would take away my crazy, because it's a superpower. Because if you're just level all the time, you're a bit not boring, but like you might not have this kind of impulsiveness to just go, right, I'm going to do a movie. No, I'm going to do an album. I'm going to do a movie and an album, and I'm going to do that. You might get all of them done, but you might let down some people on the way.
So Jethro, as a quick final 30-second message to the listening audience, what would you like to say?
I'd like to say 2 things. Live hard, love strong. That's my motto. So be out there, live hard, love strong. Look after the world and yourselves. And check out my album coming out in spring, probably called Bhuta. It's going to be a big one, and it's going to have a story to it. And every single song is going to be side by side, meaning something. It's going to be like a masterpiece, I'd like to say, even if I do say so myself. And it's just going to be like a movie that you can just listen to, a bit like War of the Worlds or something. So I'm excited to get that to the audience. And we'll be jumping back on here, I'm sure, before then, hopefully. And then I can tell you if I'm the same as you on Band 7, which will be interesting. This is my message to the world, basically, is my perspective on the world, how my belief systems and about love should be spread more. Help thy neighbor, love thy neighbor, things like that. So love each other, basically, is my message overall. And it sounds a bit sort of like soppy and hippie or whatever, free love, man, but it's not at all. It's like, I really do mean it. And I think there should be more love in the world.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Celeb Savant. Please follow Barrett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Celeb Savant. That's CelebSavant.